Basically, why I'm applying is really out of self-interest, because I want to live in a neighbourhood that's safe and healthy and that has low levels of crime. And I think everybody living in Kent and right across the country have got that right to live in a safe neighbourhood, to bring the families up in and enjoy their life. So that's why I'm applying to get to grips with low-level crime and disorder, dealing with the problems that we have in our neighbourhoods. So that's top of my priority. But the big thing is that we're living in difficult economic times, and public services like the police have got tighter and tighter budgets to operate in, and lots of things I would like to do, such as more police on the street and more proactive policing against dangerous driving, against domestic violence and so on. There just isn't the money there to do what I would like to do. So one of the main planks of my policy is to review some of the priorities that the police have and to look at more effective ways of doing things. And top of that list is the whole issue of drugs law and drugs enforcement. And if I'm elected to be police commissioner, one of the things I'm going to do is lobby and demand a nationwide debate on the future of the policing of drugs. Millions of pounds are spent on drugs policing every year, an extraordinary amount of money, but for very, very little result, because I think everybody's agreed that the war against drugs is a losing battle. You're never going to win it, no matter how much resources you put into it. So what we need to be thinking about is new and imaginative ways to deal with the question of drugs, like Portugal, for example, where they've gone for a major programme of decriminalisation. So what we need to be thinking about is legalising or decriminalising all drugs, and that would free up millions, if not billions of pounds of police resources, which could be then used to deal with other crime, such as crime and disorder, burglary, vehicle crime, dangerous driving, assaults, drunkenness, and all the issues, the crimes that make people feel unsafe. Some drugs are very dangerous and very addictive. Tobacco, alcohol, heroin, they're very, very dangerous drugs, and I'm not recommending that anyone takes those drugs. But what I am saying is, if these drugs were decriminalised, if the harder drugs were decriminalised, and if all drugs were decriminalised, then the government could actually start raising billions of pounds in taxation on the sale of drugs, which could then be reinvested into the health service, into education, to help addicts and to get people weaned off these drugs. I'm an independent councillor and an independent candidate for this election, precisely because I can say what I think without worrying about a party whip, without worrying about point scoring, and without worrying about losing influence. The big political parties are frightened to death of talking about it. And you ask yourselves, what is the biggest danger in reality? Is it the group of kids stood at the street corner skinning up and having a spliff? Or is it the idiot I saw this morning speeding into the roundabout with one hand on his steering wheel and one hand on his mobile phone? I think I know the answer to that, and it's certainly the idiot driver who should be prosecuted, not the kids experimenting with cannabis. So really we need to get our priorities right. That's going to be a big issue for me in this forthcoming campaign, that we look at things like drugs, also look at the laws about prostitution as well. And we should really be looking as imaginatively as we can at changing the way that the policing in Kent and across the rest of the country is done, and looking at focusing the money that's available upon the top priorities, which are safe neighbourhoods, and looking at ways more imaginatively of dealing with some of the old issues like drugs, like prostitution, where you don't need to prosecute, where you don't need to take an old-fashioned hardline view, and where it's been demonstrated time after time that a new, more enlightened view works. So I think it's a very, very big, important debate.